At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way. Offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night.
Welcome to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, where we talk about the continual pursuit of the section hiker.
And I'll spread the word, and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come. And we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Hey everybody, it's Jester. Before you listen to today's episode, I just wanted to let you all know that I was a guest on the Trail Dames podcast this week with Anna Huffmaker. The Trail Dames podcast is also part of the Hiking Radio Network, and those shows are produced by Mighty Blue as well. I hope you all will go over and give that show a listen because I am calling that one the Jester Tells All episode. We talk about my love fest for the Appalachian Trail, disappointment, depression, and celebration, and really get into my true passion for hiking. Here's a little clip of our chat. And here's the thing, Anna, I hike year round. So I just figured out the other day, this is astonishing number. So I have a local preserve that I've been hiking in since 2002, and I went real low on the numbers. And I think I've hiked over 25,000 miles in that preserve.
Wow. But at every time of the year, in all seasons.
All year round, all year long. So, and then, I mean, the access to Western North Carolina. I mean, I've gone up Mount Mitchell, I can't tell you how many times, and spent time in the Black Mountains of North Carolina, all over the Smoky Mountains. So, and that's one of the things I think too, with section hikers, we hike year round. We go local hikes, we go out on the trail wherever we can get. And a lot of times through hikers, they're training and stuff like that, but they don't hike unless they're through hiking. I hope you will head over to the Trail Dames and give it a listen. It's episode number 53. Thanks everybody for coming back, and now on to the show. Welcome back to Jester Section Hiker, the premier podcast with the spotlight on section hikers. I'm your host, Julie Jester Gayhart, and this is the podcast where you will hear stories about everyday people who, in addition to their everyday lives, make the commitment to hike long-distance trails where every section is a new beginning. Today we have on the podcast not one, but two guests who are devoted section hikers of the Ice Age Trail and proud Yellow Blazers. We will be learning about their trail names, how many completions of the Ice Age Trail each of them have under their belts, and more about this awesome National Scenic Trail. We'll also talk about their favorite restaurant after an awesome hike and a book release. Welcome to the podcast, Kris Van Handel.
Hi.
Good to have you on here, Kris. And Jared. Okay, let's see if I can get this right, Jared. Wildenradt.
Close enough. Absolutely.
Okay, close enough.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Kris and Jared. And I actually thought we might have a little fun at the beginning of the show let's see if I can get this right, by having Kris explain Jared's trail name and then have Jared explain Kris's trail name. So Kris, let's get started.
Okay, so Jared's trail name is Scooter because he drives a scooter or a moped to do the shuttle. So he drops off the trailer in the car at the end of the hike, takes the scooter to the beginning of the hike, and then starts hiking. So he does many of the shuttles with the moped, so he's officially known as Scooter.
That is awesome. And hopefully we're going to talk more about that a little bit later. All right, Jared, now you are going to explain Kris's trail name.
Oh, yes. So there's a little story to go with that, of course. I believe we had just gotten done with a long speech about how we don't carry non-essentials anymore, one of this, one of that, only exactly what we need. And to help our bodies recover quicker from hikes and things along that line. And she asked me to go digging in her day pack, and I'm digging through, and I pulled out a whole baggie of hair ties. I mean, like 30 of them, And
hey, listen, we never know. You never know.
I mean, they turn into tourniquets too, right? But
that's right.
anyways,
That's right.
So it just had to be hair tie after that. So it absolutely had to be. So it was pretty quick name to hand out.
That seems perfect. And you know what? Hair tie, I do not blame you for having extras, okay? There's just certain things we carry extra of, right?
Yes, you need lots of hair ties, especially when you have long hair.
That's right. That's right. And when you get in a crisis situation, you could pull that out and make something out of it. So
yeah, there's lots of things you can do with it.
I am right there with you, but I do want to clear up something. So in the introduction, I said you guys were avid yellow blazers, and I want to make sure that everybody understands that they are not the typical yellow blazer of the Appalachian Trail. So, Kris, I figured you could explain to us maybe the difference between what a yellow blazer is on the Appalachian Trail, what everybody hears of, and then you guys are yellow blazers of the Ice Age Trail.
So when you're on the Appalachian Trail and you're a yellow blazer, you're following the road and following the yellow lines down the middle of the road. And when you're on the trail for the Appalachian Trail, you're following the white blazes. For the Ice Age Trail, you follow the yellow blazes. So that tells you where the trail is and what you need to follow. We also do have other blazes on the trail. We have white blazes, which are loop trails. And then we have blue blazes, which are spur trails that go out to parking lots. So it's important that you follow the yellow blaze if you want to continue on the Ice Age Trail.
That is perfect. So everybody will understand the joke if you're used to hiking the Appalachian Trail. Basically, what Kris said, yeah, you're basically known to be in your car and skipping trail and going up the road, but not on the Ice Age Trail. That is the blaze and the color that you follow. So thank you very much for that. Before we go any further, I think we probably need to explain or give the listeners more information actually about the Ice Age Trail itself. So Jared, I thought you could possibly help us out with that. So we'll just start with the basics. Where is the Ice Age Trail?
The Ice Age Trail is all entirely within Wisconsin. It is exclusive here. So 1,200 miles, and it's all home for us at least. So.
So how far are you guys actually from the Ice Age Trail, your closest access point?
4 to 5 miles probably at max. So.
Okay, I thought you were going to say 3 to 4 hours. So you guys are literally 3 to 4 miles from a national scenic trail. I just got more jealous.
Yeah, the trail,
wow.
We live in Dane County, and the trail, there's a large section of the trail in Dane County. So we can spend a lot of time on the trail and not have to drive far.
Wow. Okay. So a lot of us just got more jealous. So basically the trail's in Wisconsin. It's 1,200 miles. What maps or guides are you using, for logistics on the trail?
Well, there's plenty of sources out there that you can get a hold of. It's all really about your preference. They have it all. They have guidebooks, they have atlases, they have a data book, and now the most recent is an app for people to use, which is one of the greatest add-ons after doing it with paper or completing the trail with paper maps. The app was just wonderful. You could close your eyes and walk for 20 minutes and still recover yourself. But anyways,
is that on the? Does GutHook have the Ice Age Trail on there now? Is that the app you're referring? Okay,
yes. It used to be called Mammoth Tracks, and GutHooks has to do all its Apple stuff or regulations. So now it is a GutHooks with just the change of maps in the background.
Gotcha. So perfect. So yeah, I imagine when I first started using GutHook, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So I bet you guys are extremely happy to have that information.
We had made a little trip down to the Appalachian Trail, and we were using it, and it was just amazing to go, hey, yeah, the next one is thing is 3 miles ahead. This is great. And then when it came to the Ice Age Trail, it was like, whoa, it's not exactly the same, but there's still the same idea, and it just keeps improving, and it's right up to where standards with the other one now. So,
and it's nice when you get lost or there's been logging and you don't know where the trail is because you can't find it. So you just use the app and you're good to go.
Nice. Very good. So let's talk about the terrain a little bit. So tell us about road walking on the Ice Age Trail versus actual trail. So how much road walking, you could do percentage, you could do mileage, however you want to explain it.
The quickest way to say it is it's about a 50-50 split right now. I actually enjoy both. Road walks give you an opportunity to see Ice Age glacial features that you can't see in the woods. It's covered by trees and everything else and leaves and you name it. But if you're on a road walk and you're able to see several miles each direction, you could actually see where a terminal moraine would have come to an end and potentially melted, and now you're on gravel wash off. But you couldn't see that if you're in the woods. It's just another hill. So, but that's just the one of the variances between the road and the off road. But there's also lots of features you do see in the woods, like eskers, moraines, kettles, potholes. All these are glacier features that the trail is based on. So,
well, you just said several things I have no idea.
Oh, so, yeah.
So you're going to have to, okay. So you're going to have to go over those with us. You said something about I understood a pothole, but I have a feeling it's not what I think a pothole is. So you said a esco, a something, and a something, and a pothole. Go over what those are.
An esker is a river in reverse. So it's a mound of dirt where the gravel was left behind. And
I just need to cut in and say that I love eskers. They're my favorite glacial feature. And I always point out when we're on an esker.
I sigh heavily because I hear it so often. Yes, she loves her eskers. But it is a great feature to I believe one time we were night hiking with someone and we're like, you see how your flashlight doesn't catch anything on the left or the right, but you're on ground. It was just an interesting experience. So we also have kettles, which is where a big piece of where the glacier broke off and was left behind and left a big hole in the ground. They typically have no outlets. They fill with water. So, lots of frogs creaking and stuff when you go in through it, or just very stale water. It's not typically a good spot to refill your water bottle. But, and we also have potholes. Potholes are a little rarer on the Ice Age Trail, but this is where the water was melting at such a rate that it swirled around and cut into the rock up to 30, 40 feet, or removed entire sections of granite and quartzite from like Devil's Lake or St. Croix Interstate State Park has some great examples of that. So,
and in the potholes, there's these things called grinders that form, and they're these rocks that are floating around in the water, swirling around, and they get nice and smooth, and so they're like these big balls of rock, and it can be as small as little pebbles, and they can get as big as like a basketball or bigger.
Wow. Okay. I am totally even more intrigued with this trail now. And wow, if a guest that was on the podcast a month or so ago, Joan Young, she talked about, the Ice Age Trail and the glacial features. And literally I had no idea. So thank you guys for this. I mean, I'm going to look this stuff up. I'm going to re-listen to this, and I'm going to look that because I want to see pictures of it.
I have a good example of a grinder. I will send you a couple pictures, maybe show notes or something along that line.
Yes, so. most definitely in the show notes. So what would you guys say the best time of year, or is the Ice Age Trail a year-round hiking trail?
Well, there are people, as we know, there's always somebody out there to break the mold, but I like to recommend in April to November. I'm a little bit of do it all year round, but June and July, if you can avoid it, you would save yourself from, you keeping your sanity because of the bugs potentially. So,
okay. Is it like a black fly thing, or is it? Yeah,
there's mosquitoes, deer flies, black flies, horse flies. We got a little bit of it all. thousands of ticks.
So you guys aren't putting those bug suits on and going out and braving the wild up there?
There are people that have walked around in literally their swimming trunks and a bug suit. I have seen it. I have hiked with them.
Can you please send me a picture of that with you on your moped? Okay, people, avoid June and July, right? I mean, as best you can.
You're absolutely. By the end of July, your ticks have mainly cleared out, and the mosquitoes. There's still some left at all times, but that's when it is the worst. Typically when I've encountered through hikers, at a trailhead, I'll be like, draw your bug net, and 2 seconds later, you got to pull it out. It's just a challenge.
Don't rip your headset off, Kris.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
don't rip.
I'm sorry, I was reliving a real moment there. So.
I mean, listeners, he was telling this story and literally was like, telling the person not to rip their bug net off, and almost ripped his headset off of his head. So the visual was great. I love it. And what would you guys say? I mean, what's the best website for info about the trail?
The best website is the iceagetrail.org. My personal portion of that website is the hiker resources. You can find everything from Excel sheets to big maps of the Ice Age Trail to help you go through checklist, miles, and of course the things to go out there and find your apps and your guidebooks, atlases, and data books. And there's also links out there to groups. One of the groups out there is the 1,000 milers. The 1,000 miler wannabes is when I first jumped in there, I think there was 30 people in the group, and now it's a couple thousand strong. And there's always good recommendations from these groups. There's also an Ice Age Trail group out there on Facebook that is highly recommended. But those are the major ones.
And you just made me think of something else. How is the trail broken down? Is it by section? The Appalachian Trail is broken down by states. The PCT is broken down by zones, so to speak, the desert, this and that. How is the Ice Age Trail broken down when you want to take on a section?
I've heard it broke down in two major ways. That by the county, people seem to celebrate by the hundreds of miles, and by the chapter.
Oh, okay. So how many chapters are there?
Oh, what is it?
29 maybe?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We've got quite a few.
I wrote down a lot of stats, but I didn't write down that one. So.
Go ahead, Kris.
There's also many, like the trail is broken down into segments. So you'll have like a 2 to 10 mile section of trail that's named a segment. So like you'll have the Scuppernong segment or the Eagle segment. In Madison, we live in Madison, and so there's the Madison segment, the Valley View segment. So there's different segments of the trail. So you can go out and say, I'm going to do these 3 segments today. And someone coming with you would be able to look in the book and see what you're talking about.
Very good information. And now that we know you got to follow the Yellow Blazes, the Ice Age Trail, there's great things. It sounds like a lot of history too, the glacial areas and the different names for things. Let's get into you guys and how you guys actually ended up section hiking the Ice Age Trail. And Kris, we'll start with you.
So I used to live in Oconomowoc, which is between Milwaukee and Madison. And there's a state park near Oconomowoc called Lapham Peak, and part of the trail goes through Lapham Peak. So I spent a lot of time hiking there with my dog, found the trail, and then I ended up buying the atlas so that I could learn more about the trail. And my intention was to continue hiking it around in that area, but I just never got around to it. Then I ended up moving to Madison, where we also have the trail, and wanting to hike it again. And I just had so many things going on that it seemed to kind of get pushed to the side. And then I met Jared, and he had been hiking the trail. So he invited me along on a hike in central Wisconsin. It was 13 or 14 miles. That was the first time I had ever done a hike that long before. And after that, I just wanted to keep going. It was a new adventure each time, and it was something different to do. And I love to be outside. So it all just kind of made sense, and, something I was really enjoying. So I just kept going.
And what year was that you kind of met Jared and said, okay, I've got this atlas that I put in a drawer here and haven't looked at that, okay, so now Jared's kind of piqued your interest in the Ice Age Trail and you're looking at me. So you must have, Jared, let's just make up a date. It doesn't matter.
It was, I do have to think, because we're not a big, like, oh, when did you meet kind of people. But it was in 2016 when I started hiking the trail. And the only reason I know that is because I keep track of my start and end and all the dates for my book.
Well, I knew you would have it somewhere. Maybe not when you met Jared, but I knew for your stats, so to speak. So Jared, take us back to when you started hiking the Ice Age Trail and what interested you in doing this.
In 2012, I was running a life of the bar scene and smoking way too much, and I was really looking for a change. I started browsing and found a 100-mile challenge at Devil's Lake. If you've ever been to Devil's Lake, it's one of the most popular state parks in Wisconsin. It's roughly around the center-ish of the Ice Age Trail, and found a 100-mile challenge there and completed that and immediately started to look out for more miles to complete. The Ice Age Trail went right through. Eventually, I figured out that the headquarters of the Ice Age Trail was literally right across the street from where I lived. And that guy that was in my backyard camping one night was not a homeless guy. He was a thru hiker.
No, wait a minute. So the Ice Age Trail headquarters was literally across the street, and Absolutely. You had somebody, camping in your backyard, and you just thought, hey, here come the homeless, or what? Yeah,
they're like, he's going to be out here on this. He's really close to the line. He's just going to be camping here. And I'm like, whatever, so does he need anything? And they're like, no, he's at the bar, getting a burger or something. So, but I never did get a chance to meet him, but I remember walking up to his tent and being like, what kind of fun can you have with this tent? It's way too small, so.
So this 150-mile challenge, correct?
100-mile challenge, yeah.
Oh, 100-mile challenge. Was that like all in one go, or was it kind of like hike 100 miles in this amount of time?
Nope. Some people were literally on day 3 after the challenge were walking in. They did it on bikes, and some people actually swam 100 miles, and I had hiked 100 miles, and I was, so proud of myself at 100, and I didn't think I could ever do that again, but right after that, set out on the Ice Age Trail and completed it in under a year and 3 months or something like that. So.
Okay. So that was your first section hike of
Correct.
The Ice Age Trail. Okay.
Yep.
So, and we're going to get a little bit deeper into how many actual section hikes each of you have on the Ice Age Trail, but I kind of want to talk a little bit about how you guys set your sections up logistically. We all know your trail name is Scooter, and you guys kind of use a moped. So I do want to get into that a little bit more. So Kris, talk to us a little bit about how you strategize, or do you strategize, and how you kind of keep up with your sections and where you decide you're going to go next and all that kind of stuff.
So we have maps that we have hanging on our wall that we mark off what sections we've done. So we can look at the map and say, okay, let's do this chunk, on the next weekend or whatever. I use the app to figure out how many miles it's going to be, because that's pretty accurate so that we know what we're getting ourselves into. So, we choose a section, and then when we head out, we obviously need to do some sort of shuttle. So we do a variety of shuttles. Jared will do the moped shuttle. I've done bike shuttles if I'm by myself. Once it gets too cold to do the moped, then we'll take 2 cars, or we might go with a friend so that they'll have a car and we'll have a car. Sometimes we've also hiked against each other so that we only need 1 car, and then we're just hiking on our own. And most recently, we've started where I ride on the back of the moped with Jared. The first time we did that, it was quite alarming and scary. Thought it was going to fly off. But as we've done more, I've gotten used to
it. I think my shoulders are still a little out of whack from that first ride, just so I can get that in there.
Visual.
Oh yeah. I believe she took the wind out of me.
So let's give it a little example. So what you'll do is throw the moped in the back of the truck or whatever, your car, and you place the car. and then you get on the moped and you drive the moped to where you're going to start.
Correct.
And then, Kris is holding on by, everything she has. And then you hike back to the truck or car.
Yep.
Get all situated, get back in there, and then drive back. Or wait a minute. Then you don't have to go. Then you go eat, right?
That's
we
right.
go and get the moped. We get the moped first.
Yes.
I like Julie's version there.
Yeah. Then you have to wait a minute. Then you go eat. Then you go get the moped, and then you go back. Yeah, and get the moped, right?
Yes.
We get the moped first before we eat because I want to get all the boring stuff done and over with before we get the enjoyment.
Or there's other variations too. Like if you're going to hike the next day in the same general area, you could actually leave the moped there and actually walk back to it the next day and not have to do a shuttle. So,
or reposition the moped in another spot for the next day.
So.
Wow. So tell me this. This is getting interesting with the moped talk. So how far? I know you're 3 or 4 miles, close to the trail from your home. So what's the farthest point of the trail for you guys to travel from your home?
Or 3 or 4 hours.
Okay.
So it's going to be quite a drive.
So what do those logistics look like when you are, I guess, on the corners of, the Ice Age Trail, one terminus, so to speak, to the other terminus? Are they called terminus or are they called something else?
Terminuses, yes.
Okay.
East and west, for this trail. So.
Okay. So how does that work?
So then we usually plan a whole weekend. So like if we're going 4 hours away, we're going to do, some days we'll do 3-day weekends so that we can have more time to drive and hike. So we'll plan a whole weekend and we'll look at a large section of trail. We'll do, up to 30 miles in one weekend so that we're really taking advantage of the long drive. Saturday will be a larger chunk and then Sunday will be shorter because we have to drive home. Sometimes if we do a 3-day weekend, we'll drive up on Friday and then do like 6 or 7 miles on Friday night. Then on Saturday, do like 15 to 18 miles. And then on Sunday, we'll do like 10 to 15.
Okay. So Jared, let's go to you real quick before we get to this moped talk. Are you guys camping out? Are you sleeping in your car? Are you staying at B&Bs or is it like a mix of stuff?
All the above, actually.
Okay.
you name it, we've done it. When it's 30, when it's 0 to 30 degrees, the camping in a tent. Yeah, you can do it, but we do like to have a warm cup of coffee in the morning, perhaps a warm bed for a little while, considering you were typically running around shivering all day. So, but we've done all that. We backpack for several days at a time with resupplies. It's all been done. So, do you want to go into the logistics of it more, or?
Well, let's go into this. I have 2 questions. I've got one more for Kris because I want to talk about Penny, but let's finalize how did the moped stuff start?
Oh, I believe I had really gotten tired of Devil's Lake and I had branched out and I had done the Portage Canal segment and what used to be the Marquette segment. And I believe it was 13 miles there and back. And when I got back to the car, I was literally crawling practically, blisters the size of my foot. And I believe when I was walking back through the town of Portage, I see the cab and kind of picked up my hand and held a thumb out just to see, maybe that was an option. I had not thought about it, but anyways, I got back home and I realized that I did not want to be the first person to hike the Ice Age Trail twice as out and backs, which is kind of ironic considering how many completions I have now. But I have a really, really great buddy who is a mechanic and owns his own business. It's Ashbach Automotive. He helped me get a hitch on my car and get me up and going for the direction of doing my own shuttles. So.
Well, I got to tell you what, I think that is awesome. I mean, I just think it's great. I think it's great. I love the moped. I love your trail name, but we got to talk about Penny a little bit because you guys also have another little character that you take with you.
Yes. Yeah, I have my dog, Penny. She's 12 And she is a very good hiker for being 12 years old. And I started taking her right away in the beginning, but just doing short distances. The first couple hikes, I just did an out and back of like 3 miles, so 6 miles total. And then we just kept working on increasing the distance to see what she could do. She's a Border Collie Alaskan Husky mix, so she does have a lot of fur. So she prefers winter hikes. And so we mainly take her in the winter and in the spring. She's gone on a few summer hikes, but those are usually much shorter because it's harder for her to deal with the warm weather. So when she's with us, when we do shuttles, then Jared will usually leave me and Penny at our starting point, and he'll do the shuttle with the moped. Or I've done those short out and backs, but unfortunately Penny can't ride on my bike with me. And she definitely cannot ride on the moped with us. So, she's got to wait, or sometimes we'll go with our friend, Muns, and then we'll toss Penny in the back of the car of each other's cars and do it with a double car.
So does Penny have a completion of the Ice Age Trail, or how many miles does Penny have?
So Penny, on my current completion that I'm working on right now, Penny just reached 400 miles.
Ooh, nice.
And of that, I've done almost 1,000. So she's done quite a bit. She's at about 1/3 of the trail. And she'll get a bit more while we're completing, but that's a lot of miles for a 12-year-old dog.
Yeah, that's a lot, especially if she likes the winter hiking as well. So, and I definitely got to have a picture. I think you sent me a picture of Penny for the show notes, so that'll be great. So speaking of how many completions you guys have, so Kris, how many actual section hike completions do you have, and which one are you working on now?
So I have one completion of the trail section hiking, and then I'm currently working on my second completion. So I'm at about 1,000 miles. So I have about 200 to go. So hopefully I'll be done in the near future.
Oh, wow. We'll like you're real, like 200 miles. You can just taste the finish line on that one.
Yes, I can.
I can tell in your face you're ready. And Jared, what are we looking at for you?
I'm getting a little numb to completions. I'm working on my 5th completion. I don't even know the miles, so I will just take what Kris gave you, and our miles are just a touch different. Working on the 5th, and it's.
Well, I'm going to call you like a 5,500 miler or something like that, right? I mean, you're well over 6,000 miles.
Well, much easier to remember than my last name, that's for sure. So.
Which we all know I botched at the beginning of this point. So. Okay, so you have 4 completions, and you're working on the 5th. So so Kris has 200 to go on her second. How many do you have to go on the 5th?
215 maybe. So
no, It's about 200, Jared. You're only probably 7 miles behind me.
I don't
see.
count.
I see you're behind her.
I gave up counting after like the 3rd. I'm like, is it done on the map? Okay, good. Let's move along. So
there you go.
I'm the statistics and data person.
Yeah. There you go. So Jared, you just asked Kris, and she goes, well, and rightly so, right? So
yes, there's many hikes where she's like, that's not 13.5, that's 13.9, and I'm like, I just.
Well, we all have to have someone like that in our life, right?
You know how that last 0.2 of a mile is the worst.
At the end of the day, 13.5 and 13.4 is a lot of distance if you're tired.
Yes, you are right on that. That is 100%. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys had, well, I'm going to call it a special moment, but we'll see what you guys say. You both finished. So Kris, you finished your first completion, and Jared, you finished your 4th completion of the trail together. So I want you guys to describe that day and what it was like finishing, the trail together. Kris, your first. So that was extremely special. And Jared, your 4th. So Kris, we'll start with you.
So I had imagined that day ahead of time many different ways, but it didn't end up the way I imagined. So on that day, we had 15 miles to hike, and I decided to do the bike shuttle for our shuttle because all of we were ending at the western terminus at Interstate Park in St. Croix Falls, and St. Croix has quite a few bike trails. So I was able to do the entire shuttle on bike trail, which was really nice. So I did the shuttle. We had Penny with us that day, and it was August and hot and humid, and we'd be hiking 15 miles. So we knew we were going to have to go slow, take a lot of breaks so that we didn't wear her out. So, we took our time. We weren't in any rush to get to the end. We just wanted to go at the pace that was best for us. And as we were approaching the terminus, area of the park is very well used. So people don't stay on the trail. They go off into different ways, and there's all little tiny trails going off. So it was really hard to know where the actual trail was. And I was nervous the entire time that I wasn't going the right way and that we were going to miss the terminus. And Jared kept telling me I was doing just fine because I was ahead. So I'm continuing on my way. And Jared was videotaping this, which I didn't know at the time. But as I look back on it now, I definitely looked uncertain and unsure of what I was doing. So we approached the terminus rock. And as I got there, I was kind of like, what do I do now? And as I'm reaching out to touch the rock, Jared says, just touch it. So I touched it, but then pulled my hand back really fast like it was hot. So that was my official ending. And then I think I just turned around and smiled at Jared with a cheesy grin. and then I let him come up.
All right, Jared, take us from there. So you come up, and it's your fourth. So
yeah, I was just more worried about, is the dog going to make it? How do I help Kris, go through this great moment, and it was just a very big privilege to be able to actually finish with somebody. I can't believe I, didn't work more to finish with other people, but it's such a rare moment. And I was glad we finished together. We got to celebrate, choose the big meal afterwards, all the good stuff. It was probably the only hike that I'd ever stopped and got a cold bottle of water for the dog, because it was a warm day. The trail happened to go right by a canoe rental place because it's really close to the St. Croix River, and they had cold water, so which Penny loved and was probably overdue on. So, but yeah, it was. I'm really glad that I got to share that with someone. So, and I got it on video too. So
very nice. Very nice. So are you guys planning on finishing, Kris, your second and Jared, your fifth together?
Nope.
Uh-oh.
So,
to be continued, right? To be continued.
Right. Well, I have a plan of how it's going to happen. We have to do the eastern terminus yet. And then there's a section of the trail that goes across a ferry. And
gotcha.
Jared has already done that section of the trail, and I haven't. So I told Jared that we should finish his hike at the eastern terminus. And then since I still have the section with the ferry to do yet, then the next day or a couple days later, then we should go and I should do that section. It's only about 10 miles. And then I should finish getting off the ferry, and that's the end.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
And then you'll have like big champagne bottles and things like that. And, I'm just visualizing this, you walking off the ferry or whatever. I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
Jared's like, whatever.
He doesn't care.
It's the 0 mile, it's the only time you don't get credit for walking it. But the ferry does the work, of course. But interesting fact at that point, I think I was one of the first to actually walk the 0 mile. I waited for the river or the lake to freeze, and I was able to walk it in winter. And I went, but the problem was when I got to one side, then I had to walk back. So,
however, that's not advisable to do.
Yeah, not advisable.
Take Jared's example and do it.
Yeah, listen, people, do not do that. Okay, Jared.
Jared was not smart.
There's one ice fisherman out there who's like, I'm doing that.
So what is you guys' obviously you are in love with the Ice Age Trail. I mean, there is a passion there, you're continuing to section hike the trail. What's your motivation, Kris, to keep doing that?
Well, I've always been someone who likes to do things outside. I'd rather be outside than inside. And I do a wide variety of activities. I've done triathlons for 11 years, so I do lots of biking, swimming, and running. I do other kinds of 5Ks and races like that. I do mastered swimming, where I get up 2 mornings a week at 4:45 to get in the pool. And then in the winter, I do cross-country skiing, ice skating, snowshoeing. So, if it's outside, I'm going to do it.
I mean, Kris, I am like completely exhausted. I can't even keep up with what you're saying. It's like,
Julie, that's just the physical side of it. There's also stacks of books around here, and you name it. Yeah, I'm so glad that she stays busy. So,
well, you know what? That is amazing. That is phenomenal. And Jared, I mean, okay, you're going to have to tell us.
I'm the non-exercising type in this story here, but yeah, I just love to hike. I do it every weekend. That's what I'm worried about. Doing for staying in shape. Occasionally, physical therapist tells me I have to do some really oddball things to keep my legs from hurting. I lose a few man cards as I move my legs around and do their funny things that they tell me to, but keeps me out there hiking. And in the summer, I love to just throw a trail maintenance pack on and just go keep hitting that same section over and over with a power saw on my back. And it's just a really good way to stay in shape for backpacking. So,
well, I've got one more question. Well, I've actually got a couple more questions. So do either of you have, I mean, obviously I'm going to call you professional section hikers. Do either of you have the desire to thru hike? Kris?
Yes, I do want to through hike the Ice Age Trail someday. I just have to figure out the logistics of how I would do it with work, or if I have to wait till I'm retired, which I don't want to do. So I would like to through hike it someday. That's a goal of mine that I will complete. I'm not just going to say I'm going to do it. I will do it.
Well, listen, you have convinced us that you will, based on everything else, that you do and all that wonderful stuff. So I believe that you will. It's just a matter of when at this point.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Jared, what about you?
I've never had a desire to thru hike. To me, every hiker is just a hiker. Every thru hiker was a section hiker before their thru hike and a section hiker after their thru hike. So to me, it doesn't matter. You're on a long hike, you're on a short hike. It doesn't matter. It's all hiking. If I did go unemployed, yeah, probably make an attempt, but
well, let's not have to worry about that
at
right
this
now.
point. You know what it's like. You got to finance the beast.
That's right.
I started this adventure 7 years ago, and it's not free. So
exactly. So before we get to the reading, first of all, congratulations, Jared, almost 5 completions, and Kris, almost 2. You guys also contribute and give back to the Ice Age Trail community. And I'm actually going to have Jared go first on this one. So Jared, you have, or I think you still do, a little card that you hand out to people as you're doing trail maintenance and things like that. Talk to us about your trail maintenance a little bit and that card you hand out.
Absolutely. Once you pick up tricks and tips from other hikers as you move along. One of the things that I did see was a business card. And as I meet people, whether I'm doing trail maintenance or hiking, you can forget to exchange information. And a lot of people you run into are new. I ran into a lot of new couples out there just going for a hike, and I'm like, well, you're in the middle of nowhere. When you're done, give me a call. I'll point out the next section, or point them to a resource, or whatever it may take. Sometimes it's just someone who wants flair for their kids who hike the trail or something, But a business card to carry on me, or a hiker card, has just been a great little addition that I like to hand out. And maintenance is. I didn't realize I was going to hand out so many cards doing maintenance. Actually, it was an afterthought. They were in my pocket, But when you get out there and do chunks of the trail for maintenance, and you get a lot of people that say, I would really like to help give back when I'm done. And when you hand them that card and they're free and they call you, you'd be like, well, I'm going in 2 weeks. So why don't you join me? We had some really bad winds come through. and I was volunteering for the Langley County chapter. Joe Jopek was very happy to put me to work up there, and I was taking crews out and working on different sections to clear out. We had lost probably 100 miles of trail to blowdowns. So many weekends of clearing trees. And, I'll tell you what, at the end of a day of a hike, it feels great, but you get done clearing trees after a full day. That's a much better feeling. It really is. So that's my version of giving back. So.
Well, thank you for that. And I know the Ice Age community, they are very thankful for that. And Kris, you've also given back to the trail because you actually have not one, but I think 2 book releases, right? So talk to us about those books, the name, the titles, and give us some info.
So I wrote a memoir about my first hike, my first section hike of the Ice Age Trail. It's called Hiking with Hair Tie, Section Hiking the Ice Age Trail, and it's available on Amazon. So while I was hiking the trail, a coworker suggested that I write a blog about my adventures, and I thought that was a good idea. So I started writing the blog. And as I completed the trail, I had all these blog entries. So I took them and combined them all into a book. I added additional information, some background information about myself, why I got into the hiking, what kept me going, tips and things that I learned along the way, clothing, shoes, that kind of stuff, and just created the book. So I have that I recently published.
And the title of that is Hiking with Hair Tie, correct?
Yes, Hiking with Hair Tie, Section Hiking the Ice Age Trail is the full title. If you go to Amazon and just type in Hiking with Hair Tie, it should come up. I've been typing it in pretty frequently
and
to show up.
And I'm going to make sure that both of your books will definitely be in the show notes. And the second book
is a photography book. It's called Ice Age Trail Through the Seasons. And that I took a lot of my favorite photos from both my first and second completions of the trail and combined them into a book, splitting them into the different seasons. So I love photography. It probably annoys Jared how much I take pictures, and I'm always taking pictures of things. So this just seems appropriate that I made a photography book. So this book is available on blurb.com. So that's BLURB.com. You can buy it as a soft cover or a hard cover through their website, or you can find the soft cover on Amazon. It's a little trickier to find it on Amazon than if you go to the Blurb website.
And give us your Instagram too, because I follow both of you on Instagram, but Kris, Jared, your pictures are, they're phenomenal on Instagram. And you had one other day of a sunrise, and I was like, wow, why don't I get up and ride my bike and go see beautiful sunrises? So your pictures are phenomenal, and all of your information about your books, about the Ice Age Trail, are going to be in the show notes, along with pictures, and definitely a picture of Penny with you guys. If we can find one of the moped, that would be awesome. But once again, thank you guys, both of you, so much for coming on the podcast. You are our first Ice Age Trail section hikers to come on the podcast, so I think that is awesome. And now we've come to the point in the podcast where the guests are going to sign off for us by reading their own journal entry, statement, or quote that will inspire us to keep hiking section by section. And Jared, we will start with you.
Well, I like to keep my statement at the end of each hike very short, so I'll keep it very short here. At the end of each hike, I like to say, that was neat, let's eat. This is Wisconsin. This is the land of Quip Trips and Culver's and many other fast food joints, and I love them all so much. It's my reward. In fact, I've been known to stop off at a Burger King, a McDonald's, and a Culver's all in one day to make the ultimate, as I call it, to eat at the end of my day and just have it all. So that is my saying for everybody when we get done. That's neat. Let's eat. Simple. Nothing more. So
you know what? My kind of guy, Jared. Kris. Whenever you're ready.
So I'm going to read an excerpt from my book. And this portion occurred during a hike that we were doing a few weeks after we had been hiking on the Appalachian Trail in Georgia. And while we were there in Georgia, we were on vacation. So I associate vacation with ice cream. And we had a lot of difficulty finding ice cream in Georgia. Here in Wisconsin, you can find it everywhere. But I found that once you leave Wisconsin, ice cream is not as plentiful. We were out hiking and we were talking about ice cream. So here is what we were talking about. We got on the topic of ice cream flavors and started thinking of flavors that would coincide with the AT. Strawberry ice cream could be called Blood Mountain. Another flavor with lots of nuts and chunks could be named after Preacher's Rock or another mountain. Then we thought of flavors relating to the Ice Age Trail. Jared suggested chocolate ice cream with nuts and Blue Moon in the middle for Devil's Lake. I wanted to come up with an ice cream for a road walk. I suggested vanilla because vanilla is boring and so are road walks. Jared likes vanilla, so he said chocolate with something yellow down the middle would be a better option. Maybe someday we'll be lucky enough to create our own ice cream flavor.
That is awesome. I cannot thank both of you enough for coming on the podcast. Thank you again, Kris. Thank you again, Jared. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks. It was fun.
Thanks, Kris and Jared, for coming on the podcast and sharing your passion and section hiking journey on the Ice Age Trail. Thank you for introducing us to some unique modes of transportation for completing your section hikes and giving us some new terms to look up like potholes, eskers, kettles, and grinders. Kris, I look forward to reading your book about section hiking the Ice Age Trail and hope both of you will join us again on the podcast in the future. Thanks for listening, everybody, and just a reminder, new episodes release every Saturday, and as always, happy section hiking.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning light. I wonder if you'd wander with me, and I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. You're wondering if I go wandering with you, what kind of trouble we'll get ourselves into. Would it be wrong to tag along with a band of vagabonds? You wonder if I'd wander with you. So I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. I'm wondering if you'd come wandering my way, if you ever get lost or if the trail leads you astray. The music of the pack can always bring you back. I wonder, can we wander away? And I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Support for this podcast and the following message come from Corient. Corient provides wealth management services centered around you. They focus on exceeding expectations, simplifying lives, and establishing legacies that last for generations. Leverage their exclusive network of experts to help achieve your personal and professional financial goals. As one of the largest integrated fee-only registered investment advisors in the U.S., Corient has experienced teams who can craft custom solutions designed to help you reach your financial goals, no matter how complex. Real wealth requires real solutions. Connect to a wealth advisor today at Corient.com.